Hey, ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to the channel. As always, it is Nick here, back with your daily crypto news and analysis. And today we're going to be talking about Quant Network, aka QNT. So let's just dive in and let's start off with the fact that I know that this video is going to make a lot of people mad. I know that it's going to make a lot of people happy. But we have been addressing QNT's price action for a very long time on this channel. I've also been talking about it here and there on Twitter as well. And every single time that I talk about it, I get met with a bunch of responses saying, hey, you're a clown, or this is never going to happen again, and blah, 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 this, that, whatever. And it's just comical because, listen, I've always said it in this market, I've always said it on this channel that we should embrace lower price action on the assets that we know are extremely bullish because guess what? Generational buying opportunities are not buying the top. It's not buying, local support. It is buying near or at around the absolute bottom. Now, as we look at the overall market right now, I am recording this ahead of time just for full transparency. When we look at Bitcoin, we're sitting at about 19.9K. The market continues to kind of just trail sideways. Most altcoins are seeing double digit plus figures in terms of negative price action. And when we scroll down the list to QNT, I know that recently we were down below $110. So we're sitting at about $109. Trading volume sitting at about 30 point almost $8 million. There's not a lot of buying happening within this market. Again, we really got a question on where is the market sentiment right now. Are people very bearish? Are people very fearful? Like, when we hit peak fearful levels, usually that's the best time to buy. Do I think that we're there? It's questionable. It definitely is questionable. But the thing about altcoins and the thing that I've always said about buying altcoins is the fact that you need to make sure that you are also paying attention to the Bitcoin pairs, because Bitcoin pairs are crucial. I also love to look at Bitcoin dominance because these are two significant signals within this market on what's going to happen to altcoins. Bitcoin dominance is key, especially combined with Bitcoin's price action, and also looking at the altcoin market as a whole. So let's actually look at a few things. So one, I did tweet this tweet out back in January, actually at the end of January, because I seen something pretty interesting around the market. And I said, I'm just going to say it, don't hate me. This market feels like January 2020. And a lot of people were like, what happened January 2020? I said, March of 2020 happened. What do you see? There's no COVID crash coming this time, though. Besides, I think it's more like 2019. I said, we will see. And a lot of people were saying, hey, fear fuels the upside in terms of the market. But again, it's however you want to look at this market. To me, when we look at most of the price action within this market, we need to address a few things happening around the space. But I did say, read the responses on this tweet. It is now March, and the market is down nearly 20%. March of 2020 was met with a much larger correction, 60% plus, but I believe this is very similar to 2020 price action on a more consolidated level, i.e., lower percentages due to larger market caps. Now, for those out there that are also going to say, well, you never told us that Q&T was going lower. First off, I 100% did. Most people just didn't believe it. But I also outlined this over on Patreon. In fact, I actually outlined two scenarios over on the Patreon. One scenario was for a potential 34% gain. I said short term one, Q&T, we might get that retest of $188 for a gain of 34% from current price. Watch for a loss of the $128 level, as this would be a big signal we see the $100 zone. If this is lost, then expect the $80 area. You could either enter impulsively or wait to see if we get a $128 retest with a nice bounce to see if support holds or breaks. Stop loss would be 5% under the $128 region. A gain of 45% is possible if we see $128 and bounce with $188 being targeted. Please note, targets are not guaranteed. This is not financial advice. Please be cautious when investing. I posted this back in February 18th. At that current moment in time, February 18th, It was right here when QNT was sitting at about $142 or so, $138. From there, we just kind of trailed sideways, and then boom, we got a massive crash. From that day to where we are currently, I'll just go off of the candle body. We were down about 25%. Going off the topping point of this candle, we are down about 26%. And here was the scenarios where we kind of get this trail to the upside. But we ended up not doing that. In fact, we lost $128. I said wait to see what happens at 128. Well, here's that $128 level. Boom, we lost it. Fought the resistance. Again, this is a significant resistance area, and then boom, rejected off of it like it was nothing. So as we do look at the scenario, yeah, we're looking at where we are at now, and it looks like we might get a nice little impulse back up to like $123 or so, just to trail on the support, and then kind of reject off of it and get that retest of $100 again. It's questionable on how we will trade this, but one, look for a loss of $104. Once we do lose this, then yeah, that $80 plus range gets tested. But I will say one thing that I've been addressing on Q&T, and like I said on any altcoin, is make sure to pay attention to the Bitcoin pair. The Bitcoin pair is 100% crucial if you are trying to buy into a token or you're holding a token or whatever the case may be. One thing that we have been addressing, and for an example, if you guys want to go check out the charts over on Encrypt30's Twitter, which for those out there that don't know who Encrypt30 is, he's a friend of mine. He has been in the Discord, the free Discord, fully free, for a while, and has been doing very well on providing incredible insights to anybody out there that wants to know what's going to happen within the market or just learning TA and all that kind of stuff. Very, very incredible individual to listen to, watch, and also learn off of if you haven't been so far. But what we have been looking at on the Bitcoin pair is just how bearish this pair looks. This has been the thing that I've been addressing for a while. One is, yeah, during the summer, I would 100% say like QNT looks incredible. We broke above all EMAs and we continued to trail, back tested support, lovely, and then we continued to trail above all EMAs, and then boom, here comes October. October, we seen a rejection. And then this is where I was saying, okay, make sure to pay attention to the Bitcoin pair. We kind of regained, we had that nice bounce off of it, but then boom, end of October, we continued to trail. And then November did not help either because November is when we started to see the Bitcoin pair slip a little bit. And then we had to get a little bit of a nice impulsive move to the upside, retest. We hit resistance, boom, rejected again. We continued to reject, and then we continued to trail here. So this is where things get a little bit interesting. During January, at the end of the January timeframe, this is also why I was really paying attention to the Bitcoin pair. We start to have these wicks against the 50 daily EMA, and we just rejected off of it and continue to reject off of it. Now we lost all EMAs. We lost all EMAs, and it really kind of started, I would argue, it started back in January when we started to lose all of this, which means QNT's strength against Bitcoin, very weak. So whatever Bitcoin does causes QNT to impulsively move, meaning if Bitcoin is going to go on a massive tear to the upside, well, guess what? QNT is weak, so it's not going to tear to the upside. It's going to trail sideways or possibly even push to the downside. If Bitcoin does go to the downside, guess what? QNT is not resilient. It will push to the downside. I know that that is confusing to a lot of people because they're like, well, if Bitcoin's going to go to the moon, for an example, and QNT is weak against Bitcoin, why wouldn't it move with Bitcoin to the upside if it's moving with Bitcoin to the downside? Well, it's because of dominance, right? We need Bitcoin dominance to fall while Bitcoin is pushing to the upside in order for altcoins to push to the upside. I've talked about this many times, and I've actually shared this chart in the Discord as well on how things move versus Bitcoin dominance. But also, as QNT just blindly kind of trails down, as you guys do see here, I mean, like we topped out here and then we just kind of trailed to the bottom and we've been trailing for a while. In fact, this is from the time that we topped out on the Bitcoin pair, which was back in October. It's been about 144 days of just downtrend. And the price action has been pretty weak. But now we're looking at, okay, well, where's the next level of opportunity on the Bitcoin pair? Well, to me personally, it is another 16% or so down. And with that, we go back to the USDT chart when we really kind of look at this. Well, so far, we're already down significantly. What's 16% from here? Which, by the way, Bitcoin pairing, it's questionable. It could be 18%, it could be 20%. We're going to watch this closely because if rejections continuously happen on this chart, and if we continue to trail on the pattern so far that we've been doing, which by the way, again, another reason why me and also Encrypt30 were pretty bearish at the time that everyone was saying they were basically saying it around here, and also around here. What we were saying is like we're gonna see sub $100 or anywhere around $100. They were like, no way. In fact, their targets were 270 to $300. Why? We have no idea. Maybe they just wanted to see that. Maybe they were playing off of their emotions. We don't know. But the thing that we were talking about and addressing is this and this. You guys see what is happening on this chart right now? Okay, we are seeing lower high. This is the high. We topped out, and resistance was basically here. We ended up trailing down, rejecting massively, major sell-off. A lot of people were saying this is healthy, which, by the way, it's pretty funny because during this time I remember a lot of people being bearish here, and most of Twitter, no way, no way, we're just going to continue to trail. New all-time highs in sight. Um, so we had that nice rejection, nice little bounce, come back down, test the major support, which is why I do believe that this level comes at some point in time here soon, and it's going to be questionable on if we get a rejection or if we get a bounce. But nonetheless, we ended up testing that support here, and then we continued to trail, hit local resistance at $155. Now, full transparency, over on the Patreon, I was getting a lot of responses and messages saying, Nick, because I said if we end up breaking out of this 150 some dollar level, like 154 or 155, that we could possibly see $200. They were like, okay, well, does this mean that we're going to $200? I said candle bodies. Candle bodies are more important than candle wicks. The candle bodies were telling us we're still at resistance. So guess what? Boom, rejection. Local support, little bounce, boom, rejection. Again, now we have resistance. We're trading against resistance, boom, rejection again. Now, what is going to be interesting here on QNT is in the short term, by the way, are we going to see a bounce off of this point down here? Are we going to trail up here to the resistance that was support? We're going to have a little bit of a test sideways before eventually getting a breakout above it, back testing it, building a floor on that, boom, and kind of just repeating the same exact price move because that's usually what this market does. We don't usually go up in one line like most people think. We kind of have this price action back here where, we have that nice little breakout, boom, sideways momentum, nice little breakout, boom, sideways momentum, breakout, and it's just usually steps up, right? So right now, main thing that we're looking at is how low can we go? And a lot of people will say like, well, I'm not waiting. I'm buying this area right here. Well, I'm telling you, you could either average in whenever you feel like it. If $100 is your target, wait for $100. Or you could buy support. Doesn't matter to me personally. It's however you guys want to gauge this. But what I'd like to personally see is this. I like to see sideways momentum, a floor being built. I like to see price stability because if we're blindly averaging in, okay, put it to you this way. If I averaged in on every single dip on QNT, I averaged in here, I averaged in here, averaged in here maybe, averaged here, averaged here, averaged here. I mean, you could blindly average in on every single dip, and most of the time you're eating into profits, major profits. Long term, sure, yeah, it might be, a great opportunity, but why not capitalize the most you possibly can on your dollar? Meaning, wait for floors to be built, wait for support to be built, wait for demand zones to be targeted. Right now, we're basically on a demand zone. This is a local demand zone. What's the next local demand zone? Well, there's quite a bit of demand down here at about like $90. Love to see that. There's also demand down here at like $80. But there's quite a bit of demand down here at $65. Now, is this meaning 65 gets targeted? Not really, but that's why we look to see a floor being built on demand. Right now, that demand is about $95 to $100. Let's see if this level holds. Or if it does get rejected, let's see if the next one holds. 90 to possibly anywhere. I mean, honestly, I would say like 80 to $90 within this $10 frame down here. This is like more of my style on where I would be very interested. But anything under $100 to me screams average in for the long term, because I think that the profit long term at anything under $100 is going to look pretty good. But again, this is however you want to play this. I'm not going to tell you guys how exactly to play this. But for those out there that do want to get ahead of the curve and get a little bit more of an insight on things, you guys are more than welcome to join the Patreon down in the description below as well as in the comments below. Full transparency, you don't need the Patreon. You don't need to be a part of the Patreon. We do give out a ton of free content over on the Discord as well as over on Twitter. You guys are more than welcome to follow me on Twitter and join the Discord down in the description below as well as in the comments below. But with that, if you guys did enjoy the video, definitely leave a like, subscribe, and turn notifications on. But with that being said, I hope that you all have a beautiful day or a beautiful night wherever you guys are. And this has been Nick. Peace out, guys.